Hey guys, here we are for this week's track guide at the Indianapolis Road Course and NASCAR Cup Series car. Now for this lap, I'm using a 10-to-1 steering ratio and a 60% brake bias. Before I get to the lap, some tips for driving here include trying to hold a tight driving line around a lot of the long, flat corners. Try to avoid hitting the curbs as they'll unsettle the car, and try to maintain the rear stability by keeping the car in a higher gear in some corners. That way you can manage the rear tire wear. If you can do those three things, you should do pretty well here. Now let's head on to the hot lap. So there was our lap, which was a 131.944, and that was with 32% track usage and 118-degree track temperature. Now, as we go into the slow motion analysis of the lap, I'm going to be doing a lot of the lap in chase view because I feel it's important just to show where the car is on track. That way you can know how to approach a lot of the corners. But as we start our lap here, I'm actually going to be starting on board, since one of the biggest challenges of this lap is figuring out where to brake for turn one. Since if you look at the fence, you'll see there aren't any markers yet until way too late. So I'm actually starting to brake. I'm braking a lot earlier, and I'm actually looking at basically the pit box on the right, like basically the first pit box, or like 2 car lengths before the end of the pit wall. I'm kind of braking right before then because the 3 is just way too late to start using as a reference for braking. So like 2 car lengths before the end of the pit wall, getting like 85% or 90% on the brakes. But the crucial thing here is the downshifting. If you downshift too early, you're going to get a lot of oversteer. So basically giving time between each downshift, that way you don't get too much oversteer. And now as I just go to chase view to show our line into this corner, you can see that we're going to want to get the car as tight as possible, but we don't want to get too much of the car over the curb. I'm only putting 2 tires on the curb at the last moment, and then finally getting the car fully over the curb. If you put the car over the curb too much, you just get a lot of understeer. So try to only put 2 tires over it if you can. Now, as we approach this corner, you see it turns from a yellow to a white curb where the corner starts to actually tighten up. So you want to not get on the power. You see I'm just like only partially getting on the power here, being very patient on the gas, just trying to get the car to rotate a bit, get a bit of oversteer here. And then as we're accelerating up to second gear, bring the car over to the left-hand side, switching over to chase view for a second. And you can see that you can just get speed up to half speed for a second. You can bring it over maybe a bit further than I did. But again, very easy to understeer through here. I actually want to apex. You can see again right when the track turns from the white to the yellow curbing, the angle of the curb kind of changes from here to there. You want to try to aim like right when the curb tightens up, like the corner. I kind of apexed a bit too early, which allowed me to understeer kind of out of the corner. So focus on maybe apexing a bit later than I did. And then as we're approaching this next corner, it looks like a pretty easy kink. It's not as tight as the other corners, but it's actually very bumpy near the apex. So again, you don't want to turn in too early. You don't want to hit the curb, which will unsettle the car. Just kind of be like half pressure, maybe even let off a little bit more. You're really focusing on just how you're going to approach the next corner. You see the car shifts over a lot to the left. You want to bring it back over to the right as soon as you can. So really no need to go too fast to that kink. Just take that as your approach to this next corner. So half brake, like pressure 50 or 60%. And then staying downshifting to first here. The car is really going to understeer as you kind of want to diamond the corner. Hugging it's just going to lose you too much speed here. So again, just diamonding, going a bit wide through here. As long as you can bring the car back on older tires, it might be a bit more challenging. So again, as we're falling over to the left-hand side, again, another curb here. If you turn in too early and hit this curb, it's going to be hard to accelerate as your rear of the car is just going to be really unstable. So getting back to the power, getting as close as you can, and getting the car all the way out wide. I think if you bring all 4 tires past the white line, you might get a penalty, but if you can just take 2 tires, just to make that radius as wide as possible on exit. Now as we're approaching this back stretch, kind of going pretty fast here, again, not really many references, braking like 1 or 2 car lengths before the curbing. If we just go on board for a second, you can kind of see braking right about here. So yeah, maybe that, from what you can tell, like you can just see the curbing as you're approaching, but if you brake too far, you just overshoot into all this tarmac. Pretty hard apex to kind of see. There's all this tarmac on the left. You can't really see your turn-in point, but as long as you start braking before the curb, you should be fine. Now, these 3 corners, they kind of all connect to each other. So if you turn in too late and you run wide through here, it's going to hurt your next corner. You're going to run wide through there, and then it's just going to mess up your flow. So really focus on just getting this corner tight, downshifting the second earlier to get in there, hugging the corner tight, just managing the throttle through here. No need to get on it too early or too hard. And I'm staying through second through all this. As you get up to this next corner, you're going to be very select down to 40 miles per hour. I still want to stay in second for this. You could downshift to first, but you're going to have a low wheel spin as you get out of it, especially since you kind of have to get in the grass on the apex there. So I'd say staying in second through here, small tap on the brakes. You're using the brakes to almost turn the car more than the wheel here. So just focusing really on just getting those lines right, just hugging those apexes. And now as we get up to these last 2 corners here, you can see we're getting back to up to third gear, accelerating. And this section right here, it's actually very bumpy, again, near the curbing. And you kind of want to actually take a wider line, so there's a lot of bumps right here. So don't be afraid to just take a wider line to get back onto the oval track. As we're accelerating back up to fourth gear, as we enter this final corner, the rear of the car is really unstable here. So you see I can't get back to the throttle. I'm only managing like 70% throttle as we shift up to fourth. No need to get on the power too early here. You can easily get into the wall if you understeer or get back to the power too early. So just be patient on the throttle. Try to straighten out the wheel as soon as you can. And coming to the line, and there's your lap. So like I said, just be very patient on the throttle, just managing those rear tires. And hopefully this lap guide was helpful. And good luck on your races.